Wondering if your baby is ready to start sleep training and learn some independent sleep skills? Sleep training is not about forcing sleep. It's about setting up your child for success and for healthy sleep habits for the rest of their lives. In this video, we're going to talk about when the time is right to start sleep training with your baby. Let's go over 5 categories that will help you decide if it's time for a change. And if you decide that now is not the time for sleep training, you can always revisit this video and decipher at a later date if it is time to start sleep training then. Number 1 is age and development. So generally, I start recommending sleep training at 4 months old. This is when babies go through that dreaded 4-month sleep regression where their sleep habits change completely and they're having more adult-like sleep patterns. The way that they start sleeping after the 4-month sleep regression is going to be how they're going to sleep for the rest of their lives. Their circadian rhythm is set. They're starting to produce melatonin. They know the difference between day and night and starting to be some predictability. We'll jump into more details on the predictability aspect in a little bit, but I wanted to briefly touch on just age and development. Anything younger than 3 months old is a hard no. We are not sleep training at all. That doesn't mean that you can't start teaching some soothing skills, which I do go over in my baby prep blueprint. If you're interested, I will leave the link in the description box down below and in the comment section, but it is not sleep training, and we do not want babies younger than 3 months crying. Let's jump into number 2, and that is health and weight gain. You want to make sure that your baby is growing and thriving before starting to teach them this big new skill. Now, this is a conversation you need to have with your child's pediatrician. If your child is growing on their growth chart on their own curve, then you know, and your doctor will tell you, they will indicate whether it is appropriate for your child to be sleeping longer stretches at night without needing a feeding. Again, this is a conversation to have with the pediatrician. And honestly, any other professional, whether it's a sleep consultant, a lactation consultant, or any chiropractor or masseuse, I don't know, whoever, they are not the people to tell you whether your baby can or should be sleeping through the night or not. This is something that your pediatrician will have access to your child's actual growth, their actual chart, their actual statistics, and they should let you know whether or not your child still needs a feeding overnight. And I'm just going to throw in here that even if the doctor says they can start sleeping longer stretches at night, but they should still have 1 feeding per night, you can actually still do both sleep training and offering 1 feeding a night or 2 feedings a night and teach your child independent sleep skills. So this way your child is only waking up when they need a feeding and not just for comfort, which brings us to point 3. Your child's wake-ups are not for comfort and they are truly for hunger. So when you do sleep train your child and they maybe are going through a growth spurt, maybe they were sleeping through the night, but you're noticing they're eating more during the day, they're hungrier during the day, they're also hungrier at night, this is just a growth spurt. It lasts a couple days, couple nights, and then you'll notice your kid woke up bigger. And it is so obvious those first few growth spurts that it was indeed a growth spurt, and then your baby continues sleeping through the night. However, if your baby is waking out of comfort needs and they need to feed back to sleep every single time, I've had clients come to me saying that they feed the baby to sleep and then the baby wakes up every hour, maybe every 2 or 3 hours, but they are up constantly through the night feeding their baby back to sleep all night long because that's the only comfort that your child has in learning how to fall asleep independently. Because that is the only sleep association that a child has learned since they were a newborn. Now, of course, those first 3 months I said we're not having babies cry, so the feeding to sleep association is perfectly fine. After 3 months old and between 3 and 4 and 5 months old is when we're really weaning away from that. Your baby can learn to sleep independently and they can find comfort in self-soothing. Number 4 is that predictable patterns start to emerge. I remember when my first niece was born and she was about 3 months old when she naturally started falling into the routine of the eat, play, sleep. And it was a very noticeable sign that she was ready for a more structured day. She was ready for a more predictable routine, and she was starting to get the hang of sleeping 3 or 4 set times during the day. Now, it's not going to be perfect every single day, but you will start to see patterns, and you will also start to notice your baby's sleepy cues. Now, a lot of sleepy cues can be similar: the yawning, the stretching, the red eyebrows, looking away from stimulation, and just generally acting more tired. But every baby will have their own little tell. And number 5 is that you, the parent, are ready for a change. I remember when my first kid turned 4 months old, and it almost felt to me like the adrenaline rush of having a newborn and all of these new routines and everything. The adrenaline wore off, and I was like, all right, we need to make some changes here. This was all fine and dandy the first couple months, but we need to start having a schedule. We need to start having some sleep training. And we did, and it took a couple nights. And he's been sleeping great ever since, and now he's 11. But what I had to make sure that I did, and you need to make sure that you're ready to do, is commit to the process. There are so many different sleep training methods out there, and that is exactly what I do with my clients. I assess their unique situation, and I create a plan that works for their family. Now, this does not mean cry it out. I don't really use cry it out. I would say maybe 1 in 50 clients might end up having to cry it out because the baby actually doesn't accept soothing because they don't want it. They just want to be left alone. However, long story short, there are so many different sleep training methods that can be used with the younger babies and with older babies. It's never too late to start sleep training your child, but it can be too early. Do not forget, we are not sleep training before 3 months old. I get that question on my videos often. Now, if your baby is one of the babies out there that is waking out of comfort and habit and needing to be fed back to sleep, or maybe you're not sure, I have a whole guide all about hunger versus comfort, how to decipher the difference and what to do about it. You can grab that guide in the link in the description box down below and in the comment section. Remember that not all of these signs need to be perfect. They don't have to have every single sign of sleep training readiness, but you do need to make sure that they are medically approved for sleep training and that you as the parent are ready to be consistent, to follow a plan and stick to it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is sleep at the end of the day, every single day. And I promise you will get there with consistency and dedication to the process. And if you ever need help, I am right here at Slumber and Bloom. Reach out to me anywhere: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, website. You don't have to do it alone. Hope you enjoyed this video, and keep blooming.